friends and neighbors. Welcome in the light, where laughter's the answer and hearts are shining bright. With calloused hands and wits so razor sharp, let's praise a place where love ignites the spark. In the field of dreams where sweat and hope combine, we'll raise our voices high and toast to the divine. Be your best and let your spirit always rise. Give thanks for every moment under sunny skies. Be the sunny side of someone else's life. Share your light and joy through struggle and strife. Keep your heart open and your soul always bright. Together we will share the sunny side life. Be the sunny side of someone else's life. Share your light and joy through struggle and strife. Keep your heart open and your soul always bright. Together we will share this sunny side life.
Hello, friends and neighbors, and welcome once again to the sunny side of life. I'm your host, Troy Thompson, and I am exhausted. I have to say, I've been working, it's not round the clock, because a man has to sleep. I know that. But the Register's annual Great Bike Ride across Iowa is underway. It started, I think people came into the west side of the state, Orange City, on Saturday, and then on Sunday they're in Milford, and then Esterville tonight, as this is a Monday. And then they'll be in Forest City on Tuesday. 20,000 people from all 50 states, the 20 countries around the world, just swarming across the state on bicycles and in support vehicles, and coming to little towns such as our little hamlet in northern Iowa. And we've been getting ready for this for, several months, since February, I suppose, maybe before that to some degree, if you really want to know the truth. But it never seems like it's enough time. And when you get right up to it, it's just like any other project that you've got going on. There is a deadline, and if you're ready, you're ready. And if you're not, it's going to happen anyway. And I would say that we are pretty ready. You could always have more time. There's always lots of things that the community wants to do to be able to showcase your town, but it just takes a lot of effort, and it takes a lot of people to do that. They recommend, they being RAGBRAI, which is a business. It is a business. People pay to do this, and they take vacation and they make this their summer vacay to ride across the state of Iowa, which they've been doing for 52 years, which is astounding. And this is not the first time that our little town has hosted it as an overnight. I think it's maybe the fourth time, or maybe the fifth. I don't know. But this is the first time that I've been actively involved with putting it all together. And I think I've said on other shows that I've done that I'm the chair of the campground. It's called the Green Committee, but it's the campgrounds, the charters, which are groups that organize everything for bicyclists who are paying for their services. They move their gear from town to town. They set up their tents. Some of them offer food and beverages, and it's just all ready for them. So when you roll in after a long day of riding the bike, you can just go to your charter and hang out, which I think is a pretty smart way to do it. That's not how most people do it. Most people are, if they're not part of a charter, which is, I would say, maybe a third of the people that ride on RAGBRAI are part of a charter. Another third are probably parts of just teams that have been doing this for years, and it's just your group of friends and acquaintances that do this every year. And then there's just the regular folks that say, "Hey, I'm going to go do this," and they register with RAGBRAI and pay their dues, and then grab their own gear. RAGBRAI hauls their stuff from town to town, and they got to set up their tent every night, take it down in the morning, and all that stuff. So it's a lot of people. And then there are these other people called bandits that don't pay. to be a part of it. They just join the ride. There's not a lot of them, but maybe, I don't know, maybe a tenth, smaller than that amount. It's hard to say. And not everybody rides from one end of the state to the other. They don't necessarily do the whole route. Sometimes they just do a day or two, or they just, do part of the track and hang it up, or just whatever. So anyway, to prepare for all that, it takes a lot of time, a lot of preparation, a lot of meetings. I'm not a huge meetings guy. A lot of the things that I do obviously involve meetings, as a commissioner for the Veterans Association in Winnebago County, and as a school board member, things like that, other different things I'm a member of or a part of in some committee. Those are all meetings, but typically those are just, once a month. And RAGBRAI has been like every week. And sometimes more often than that, and that's what it takes to get things done. And so I need to learn to delegate a little bit better. If I were ever to do this again, I would say I would need to get volunteers on my team far earlier than what I did. I'm a little short of volunteers, but we'll be able to survive. We'll do fine. We've got everything set up for the most part. I'll still be working today and tomorrow, and then of course the teardown on Wednesday, and we'll see where it goes from there. But yeah, they come in and they're here since we're the town that they stay overnight in. They start arriving, early afternoon into the 6-7 o'clock hour. They want to get showered. They want to get fed. They want to get their stuff set up, and they want to go enjoy the entertainment. And of course, we have some bands coming in, and there's a beer garden and all kinds of fun things going on, vendors everywhere. It's quite a party. It's a great time. And I look forward to Tuesday night, and I look forward to Wednesday night. As Wednesday night, I'll say I think I will have it all put away after all these months. So it's finally coming to a close. But this episode is about volunteerism. I think that I have made it clear that I think that volunteering is an important virtue, that volunteerism is something that we should instill in our children, and we should exhibit it by that which we do in front of our children and our peers, our coworkers. We should be volunteering. And I remember in the first season of The Sunny Side of Life, had a conversation with Dr. Kevin Mason, and we talked about history, we talked about Iowa, we talked about all things university, higher education, and all that stuff. It's a good episode. Go back and check it out. It was in the first season of Sunny Side of Life, Kevin Mason. And, one of the things that struck me about what Kevin said, and he said a lot of very interesting things, very smart guy, was, I said, people say they're so busy. And he just pshawed that. He's like, pfft. Now he's an historian, PhD in history, teaches at university, and he says, this generation of human beings, the current era in which we live, has more free time than any other generation in human history. And I was astounded at that, because I always hear how busy everybody is. They're so busy. I'm so busy. Oh, just busy. And I'm like, yeah, I get it. I mean, I'm busy too. And I feel it, but a lot of the things that I do, almost everything that I do now is volunteer stuff. But when I was, even when I was actively employed, I was volunteering and doing stuff because, well, heck, to be in the military, you got to volunteer, even though you do get paid for that. Some people say not enough, but I thought it was a fine career. Anyway, so the spirit of volunteerism is important. And yet I have observed, as having been being the president of certain organizations and all of these different things that are volunteer based, and then just seeing the needs of the church and the community and all of those things, community theater, all of that stuff. It takes a lot of free labor, is what it amounts to. People that have an interest in lending a hand to do something that that results in something wonderful. That's what RegBri is. That's what our experience in our town is. That's what makes churches operate efficiently and fun, and that community grows. A lot of the things that surround our public schools and our private schools, schools in general, including our colleges and universities, are reliant upon volunteers, people that just want to give of their time and money, but their labor. That's the thing that I feel like I've noticed that has been absent for quite some time. That there has been an absence of a love of labor, like the sense of being busy to do things, to accomplish things, not necessarily to just achieve career success or whatever it might be, but to accomplish something for a community, whether it's your town, your city, the community in your church, your school, your club, whatever. What we've noticed in the last few decades is that the number of fraternal organizations, for example, have lost membership. They have declined tremendously. Veterans organizations like the VFW, the American Legion, obviously Vietnam folks, and just all of there's tons of veterans organizations. Those are the two major ones, and they struggle to have members. And that's weird, isn't it? Because we had a war for 20 years. You'd think there's tons of veterans out there. But my generation and the next generation, and I guess the generation after that are engaged in those activities, just don't seem to be as involved or willing to give of their time as, say, my parents' generation or my grandparents' generation, for sure. Those fraternal organizations are disappearing. Like, when have you recently heard say, hey, I'm just down at the Elks Lodge, or even the Rotary Club, or the Lions Club, or, you name it, the Odd Fellows Club, right? The International Organization of Odd Fellows. I mean, that's still around, but they're just fewer and fewer. And yet those were the organizations throughout our American history that made things happen outside of the church organizations, and often in association with them. Say, for example, the Knights of Columbus. That's a good example. Catholic organization that participates in all kinds of community activities. The Lions Club, all of those organizations are shrinking, and they're struggling to find members. When I was much younger, I was a part of the JCs, which is the Junior Chamber of Commerce. And those were young business people, that would get together and have drinks and have meetings, and usually at the same time do both. And I don't even know what we really accomplished, but, you do some community projects, you'd build a new playground or something like that. Those organizations are disappearing. And then when I say, well, I'm a little bit short on my volunteer needs, say for just the campgrounds and charters and garbage and things like that. And don't get me wrong, we've got lots of volunteers. RegBri says you need like 600 or 700 volunteers. I'm like, whew, that's like that's a lot. That's like an eighth of our town right there. 1 out of 8 people would be volunteering to do something. That would be super fantastic and very helpful. It'd be a lot of T-shirts to make, but it would be well worth it, because the community in turn does benefit from just the donations that come in through this one night stand with this 20,000 bicyclists that come through town. But what is everybody doing? Where is the volunteer spirit? That my parents were an example of the volunteer spirit. My mom, to this day, is just always involved in some church activity or some community activity or helping a friend and volunteering. This doesn't, not always getting paid for any of this. We're just going out and doing the right thing and helping people out. And whether it was, when we were growing up, it was 4-H and church especially. And Winnebago County pork producers and the kids of the pork producers and just lots of, farm stuff. But it was all just, you had to do it. You were taught that you needed to do it, that it was the right thing to do. There's nothing wrong with you physically. You can get up off your butt and you can walk and you can lift. My mom's a strong personality, and I remember she had no time for particularly men who had been injured on the job. Or claim, specifically, she didn't believe that necessarily all of these men that maybe at the lumber yard or at the feed store or wherever, that they had been injured on the job and they couldn't lift more than 10 pounds. So I'm not going to be able to help you with that. And my mom's like throwing feed bags in the back of the pickup. And so she never had, she would make fun of them as we drove away. And I just thought it was riotously funny. I remember being at the lumberyard when I was at one time growing up, and the guy who was there had apparently hurt his back, although there was no evidence of it. He just seemed lazy to us and wasn't able to help us lift the boards and load them into the truck. So we did it, of course, the kids, my brother and me and my mom. And when we drove away, she's just making fun of him. And she's like, "Oh, I bumped my nose and now my butthole hurts," is what she said. I'll never forget that. And that's the kind of things that I heard my mom say. She would get frustrated with people who didn't give it their all, their effort, that were lazy. So, if you grow up that way, at least for me, I paid attention to that. And I feel guilty if I am not doing something useful. And so it's hard for me, and I've talked about this on the show too, to to take 4 hours off and go golfing, go make a tee time, which I could use the practice for sure. I'm a terrible golfer, and we have a membership. The kids like to play golf, but the leisure time thing just doesn't blend with my farm upbringing. Like, you're going to go saunter off into town and there's a zillion things for you to do, but you're going to go do that. It seems a little selfish. That's how it is in my brain, because I think I know that's how I was raised. There's just always something else to do. And even if you've got everything done at your place, there's somebody else or something of which you are a part that needs to have something done. There's always something to do, which isn't to say that we didn't take vacations, because we certainly did. And we traveled and we had fun, but we worked and we lent a hand and volunteered. And that spirit just has stuck with me my whole life. And so I'm thinking, am I doing a very good job teaching my own children to do the same thing? And I don't know the answer to that. I'm starting to doubt even if I've done a good job in that regard as a dad, because certainly they have seen me, well, for one, be a soldier, which is, you volunteer to do that job, but it was a job. You did get paid. And they also observed me in all of these other organizations their whole life. And with the exception of my son Tanner, and not all of the boys are necessarily engaged in anything other than the career that they're either in or they're working towards. Jackson College, and he's working and he's got some side hustles and he's busy. He's definitely busy. And my oldest boy Tate is very busy as an attorney. But I'm not sure that I passed the message along that you have to give back to your community. And it's not something that has to wait until you are of a particular age or a particular financial status, so that you have free time. As Kevin Mason said, we have more free time than any other generation in history, which is true. You don't have to raise your own food. Somebody else will grow it for you. Somebody else will do just about everything for you that you need to have done. If you can afford it, you'd have so much free time, and yet you would probably be the one that would talk about how busy you actually are. So it's a pet peeve, for one, to not see people volunteer as much as they could. I won't say they should, because if you, first of all, to be a volunteer, you have to care about the project which you're volunteering for, and you can also have a problem like I think I do, which is volunteer for more things than you should. And I have a variety of interests, so I am interested in the outcomes and the assistance of that goes into the projects of whatever they might be for all of these different groups. But I have come to the conclusion, I think RAGBRAI has helped me in this regard, to say, well, maybe not so much. Maybe not so much of your time, because what I found is that a lot of my projects that I've told you about on this show that I've got going on here at Sunnyside have had to take the back burner because these other priorities have come up in the midst. So there has to be a healthy balance. And I think that is true just about in anything. So nothing new there. But I guess I would just impart to all of us that we should give of our time. Find something that doesn't pay, that you can lend a hand, maybe lead a committee or be on a committee or just be the labor of a committee. Just be useful. So when people ask for volunteers, and people are always asking, if you're listening, they're always asking for help. And I guess that's what it ultimately boils down with to me. They're asking for help. And if you're able to give it, is it a sin not to? I don't know. Kinda. Maybe not a sin, but if you're able to give help, you should. And that is the true spirit of a volunteer. And listen, this isn't being recorded the day of. This is recorded late Sunday night after I have done a pretty full day once again, and this time putting out signs and marking things around town for the anticipated onslaught of wonderful guests to our community. And I've got so much more to do tomorrow. So I have to apologize. This is definitely going to be a short episode. And that's going to be the case next week too, because once RAGBRAI is complete, I'm taking a little bit of a break. You'll still hear from me next week, next Monday. I'll give you the results of how it went and all of that stuff. But it will be this episode, and next week's episode will just be a little bit shorter, because I do have to get caught up on some things, and we've got some projects planned that I just want to be able to focus on that and get those things done and have some fun doing it. So I hope that you are enjoying the sunny side of life, and I hope that you enjoy these little short episodes. Maybe you enjoy them too much, and the longer episodes are, not what you want to hear. But I want to just impart the volunteer spirit to you. I want to wish you well. I hope that you find something that really trips your trigger and makes you want to get out there. And if you're able to lend a hand, that you do so that some lady doesn't drive away in a pickup truck making fun of you and say you bumped your nose and now your butthole hurts, and she thinks that you are a sissy. And so for those people that do have work injuries and can't temporarily lift more than 10 pounds, my apologies. But there's a good chance that if you ever run into my mom, just don't bring it up, because she's probably going to make fun of you. And to be honest, I might too, just a little bit. All right, that's it. I'm out. There's a lot of things I've got to get done. The night's not over yet for me. I've got more to do. I know you do too. This volunteer spirit is... it's getting to me in a good way. But I hope to maybe sometime we'll meet and we'll talk about all the things that we do for nothing, just to see the results that benefit the communities that we care about. Until then, my friends, go out, do great things, keep your hands calloused, and always try to be the sunny side of someone else's life.
When the shadows fall and doubts begin to creep, remember, together we're strong, never weak. Lift your neighbor up with kindness every day. Let your actions speak the words you want to say.
The Sunny Side of Life is a weekly production about our life on the family farmstead here in Iowa. the liberties we prize, and the pursuits which make us happy. None of this is possible, of course, without Christ in our lives. For the Lord God is our sun and our shield. He gives us grace and glory.
Be the sunny side of someone else's life. Share your light and joy through struggle and strife. Keep your heart open and your soul always bright. Together we will share this sunny side life. Be the sunny side of someone else's life. Share your light and joy through struggle and strife. Keep your heart open and your soul always bright. Together we will share this sunny side life.
May the Lord bless you and keep you, and may the sunny side of your life in Christ be made evident unto you each and every day, and give you peace.